Okay guys, so one last little thing about this. When you are tracing these down, I want you to be really diligent about how you outline them. So I want it to be clean and neat. Keep in mind that the areas that are white are going to stay white. So be careful when you're tracing. Make sure that you put marker where you intend to. And also be intentional about how you put down your stencil. So obviously the focus of mine is going to be this little 4 right here. I'm going to fill the rest of this in later just because I don't have time to finish this piece off right now. But this is going to be my focal point for the entire piece. So what I'm thinking of doing, though I'm still not 100% sure, is that these are going to be the 4 that are clustered and turned around. So if you see, here's the one that's right side up. I flipped the stencil over, so I took my stencil, which is now completely cut out. So I took my stencil and stenciled it down like that. So you see how I just line up those inside borders with the 2x2 square, and then you get your good trace on it. So I did one like that. I flipped it over and lined it up and traced it that way. I then flipped it over this way, traced it like that, and then flipped it over this way and traced it like that. So what I'm thinking of doing with this is actually keeping that direction after I have put one down. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have all the J's that are connected to this box go the same direction. So I'm going to do all of these squares facing that direction. But they are going to be a different color. I kind of already know I'm going to do that. So if these 5 boxes right here get filled in with a J going this same direction, all of these, the J's are going to be white and the background's going to be black. Whereas these 4 here, the J's are going to be black. So I am thinking about how the 2 different spaces are going to start to interact with each other. What that is called is negative space. So this is a variation on something called a foreground-background reversal. I actually put something up on Canvas for you to read about negative space so you have a better idea of what I mean when I say that term. So if we were talking about these right here, this area here is the area around the design. Most people would consider these areas here to be background, right? So if those are the background, so all the things that I'm going to darken in, this is the foreground. So if you have something, a foreground background reversal, what happens is, so these are going to be normal. These 4 are going to have a black foreground and a white background. If I reverse those in all the other squares, it's a foreground background reversal. I'm making the denser part of the image the background instead of it being the foreground. So what I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to put the 5 J's all going that same direction right there. And then all of the squares that are attached to this J right here are going to go the same way. So I'm going to fill this whole thing here with J's going that direction. And then over here, obviously following logically, I am going to fill all of these squares that are touching that one with the J going the same direction. And last but not least, I am going to fill all the squares touching this one with the right side up J. But they are going to be colored differently. So I'm taking into account that the only 4 white J's in my whole piece are going to be these right here. Everything else is going to be black J's. These are going to be white J's. So these are going to be the only ones that have actual black backgrounds. These are going to have black J's. Or something like that. I actually may have reversed that while I was talking, but either way, they are going to be different. One is going to have a different color J than the other. So I take that back. My original one, these are going to be the black J's, these are going to be the white J's. I'm not totally sure about that yet. I'll know really once I get the whole thing stenciled down and outlined, kind of where I'm heading with that. You do want to do this whole thing in pencil J's though, before you outline. So don't do what I just did. Get your pencil J's lined out on the whole thing with an idea of where you're going to color in different sections before you start Sharpieing it in. Now when you Sharpie it in, be clean and be precise. It's Sharpie. You can't get it off. So if you mess up with it, you're kind of stuck. So be very careful when you're doing it. I have Sharpies of different thicknesses in the cabinet. So right now I was using this one, which is like the standard fine point Sharpie. I also have extra fine point Sharpies in there, as well as chisel tips and brush tips. The chisel tips and brush tips, if you have really large areas to fill in, could definitely save you some time. But they are less exact, like they're harder to be super precise with. And the thing that makes these good pieces is if you are super, super clean with how you put it together and pay tons of attention to detail, so that when the whole piece comes together, it's super sharp and extremely black and white. So there's no mess ups in it. Every line is very, very considered and precise. And the preciseness is part of what makes these ends up making these such beautiful pieces. Anyways, guys, I am again very sorry I am not here today. I hope you are all having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all very soon. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday.